Robin Hood Radio presents Stage Right or Not with Michele Willens. Michele is a longtime journalist and herself is a published playwright of several theatrical works. She's a frequent contributor to the Huffington Post, Daily Beast, and the Atlantic websites.
Well, we usually think of theater as emerging from the pens, or shall we say clicking fingers, of playwrights. And of course, if it weren't for their work, the stages would be empty. But getting the written works to those stages takes all kinds of forms these days. Producers are always looking for the next safe investment, and so they scour the archives of the movie studios. What well-known property has not yet been adapted theatrically? Well, fewer and fewer, it seems. This week, Magic Mike became the latest movie to get the go-ahead to be turned into what they hope will be stage magic. A popular book also becomes fodder, of course. This season we have To Kill a Mockingbird, which only someone with Aaron Sorkin's talent and chutzpah could make happen. And last season's Tony winner was the Harry Potter double bill. These seem like sure bets because of their already established titles, but they are challenging. Can they make the transition acceptable to diehard fans of the original? Well, one only has to think of 1984's disastrous trip to the stage. Anyway, all this is a roundabout way to lead into the shows that I saw this past week, which have original ideas as their source and are sponsored by, well, so to speak, sponsored by rather interesting entities. The Here, H-E-R-E, Arts Center, for example, is way downtown in a nice but modest space and has managed to earn itself a reputation as one that welcomes new and creative collaboration. The center features not only theater, but dance, music, visual arts, and even puppetry. At any given time, several things are going on at once. Theatrically, right now, Here is presenting Between the Threads, done with the Jewish Women's Project, and another called Joan, that one in conjunction with a Brooklyn-based Colt Horror Company. And the center has definitely made the grade. Even Ben Brantley from the New York Times was in the cozy but unglamorous venue to see Joan the night that I was there. The play, by the way, has nothing to do with that Joan of art fame. This is playwright Stephen Belber's idea of the every woman of today, trying to juggle it all, to find herself, commit to relationships, but still enjoy a sense of freedom. There are times when who we are and who we want to be don't add up, says the title character as the play begins. Now, Belber is a good and respected writer, and there is food for thought in this piece. It runs 100 minutes and features the equally respected actress, Joanna Day. She is in every scene. Two other fine actors, Adam Harrington and Marjan Neshat, play multiple roles in Joan's life. And I mean switching characters in a second's time. Now, overall, I don't think the play quite works, frankly, because Joan just doesn't seem all that interesting or unique. She has her relatable moments and observations. I want to live an engaged life. There are versions of me that I miss, she muses. But she's also saddled with a relentlessly sarcastic attitude and surrounded by cliches. The photographer whose pictures, quote, hide as much as they reveal, and who finally gets to the ultimate realization that being a mother is like no other experience. Still, it is worth applauding in that Joan, the play, if not quite the woman, emerges from a creative hand, the kind of thing you'll find at the Here Center. Now, how many of us listen to books on Audible? Well, this was the little idea that the giant Amazon acquired for big books. And now just about every book is read by either its author or famous folks. More New York actors apparently are getting work doing Audible books than they are on stage. Now, the idea may not be for everyone. Quote, listening to someone read aloud is very different from reading in silence, wrote the great Italian author Italo Calvino. Well, he wrote that decades ago. Who knows what he would think now? Audible faces another challenge that exactly as we speak, it is gradually entering the theatrical arena, producing occasional works at the Minetta Lane Theater in the West Village. Now, these may be books turned to plays or plays turned to listening experiences. First, there was Harry Clark, a one-man piece starring Billy Crudup, followed by Girls and Boys, another solo tour de force starring Carey Mulligan. And now comedian Colin Quinn is performing Red State, Blue State, a stand-up rant about today's political climate. Some viewers have been disappointed that Quinn is not bashing our president from start to finish. In fact, Trump's only mentioned by name once or twice, described as the least Christian person who ever walked the earth. But the show is a humorous look at the divisions in the country that gave us our current president. And he goes back, way back to the founders. They wrote wise words, Quinn says, but did they tell us what to do about it? No, they died. The performer's attitude is more frustrated than angry, and I found it a highly pleasant 80 minutes and a pretty good look at where we are. A time, Quinn says, of 15 genders, 4 bathrooms, and 2 parties. A time when New Jersey and Utah are farther apart than most countries. The left, he says, basically feel like they're in an ICU unit with the doctor saying, sorry, it's hopeless. He explores free speech, a noble failure, and social media. If you take on more than 12 followers, he notes, you're already doing better than Jesus. He foresees a dystopian future with nothing left but roaches, rats, and Amazon delivery trucks. Quinn ends on a witty look at every single state with a punchy take on each. Arizona, you are all sand and no beach. That's a litter box, and so on. One nice thing about having Audible behind you is all those who can't get to the Minetta Lane will be able to hear the show eventually. Well, back to Calvino. Yes, I've been reading him lately, so bear with me. The great Italian author also wrote, do you want to demonstrate that the living also have a wordless language with which books cannot be written, but which can only be lived? I am not sure exactly what that means, but I don't know, it sounds good. Finally, an interesting piece of news that will be worth following. This may just be me, but hear me out. Lynn Nottage, a wonderful Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright, has been commissioned to write a hoped-for Broadway musical about Michael Jackson, scheduled for a tryout run in Chicago in the fall. Well, this week, a 4-hour documentary about Jackson premiered at the Sundance Film Festival. Apparently, it is a blistering look at the pop star's sexual history with 2 young boys in particular. So I'm very curious if we'll soon be hearing that the musical project is put on hold. I'm not making any predictions here, but let's keep our eyes and ears open. I mean, Jill, at this moment, would you go forward?
Well, see, that's an interesting question.
Good, that's why I asked it.
Okay. Would you go forward? Now, this is heresy so I say this in advance. This is absolutely heresy. But if you were alive during that trial, did you not think that there might be some fire to go with the smoke?
That's a very good point. This shouldn't surprise us.
No, not remotely. And because there is such a, and again, forgive me for anyone who's been legitimately wronged.
Yeah.
Ignore what I'm about to say.
Right.
There has been gossip and innuendo and bad behavior since the flood, before the flood.
Back to the founding fathers, yes. Uh-huh.
So it's at some point, people are going to have to get a handle on the fact that in a lot of cases, sorry for the cliche, but idols, their idols have feet of clay.
Right.
So do you go? I don't know. Do you? I mean, does everybody have to go? Oh,
yeah.
Also,
does it make it a more interesting challenge? Will it be maybe a more interesting?
Does it make it more interesting that he got away for years with? I mean, if you look at and again, sorry for whomever I am about to offend or have already offended. If you look at Michael Jackson's face, if you look at the body stuff that he went through, if you look at the way that he was and how the only thing that excused him was his extraordinary talent.
Absolutely.
Because without that, you just have somebody that you'd be writing pretty sad stories about. Now, I'm not talking about I don't mean a musical. I just mean or a theatrical production. It would just be a news story that would just make you. It would be a troubling news story.
That's right. That's right. I mean, he's obviously was a fascinating guy, and we all remember where we were when we heard the news. A huge talent, like you say, and probably a very sad life. Growing up as a little boy with that family.
Probably
in that home.
Probably a very sad life, as you say, which led to these, shall we say, behavioral issues that were, shall we say, excused on the basis of that phenomenal talent.
Right.
But he's not the only person.
Not at all. And that, again, it could make for a very interesting, different kind of a show. Unfortunately, that's probably what the documentary is. Apparently, people walked out just shell-shocked by seeing this. Again, it's not even a question of what kind of a show it could make. It's going to be a great thing to watch to see if the producers and those who are going to put money into this music back out, if they're too scared.
And that's where you've got, like, right now you're in a pretty, again, my opinion only, you're in a pretty gutless time. So, understandably, because the scourge that is social media, which hopefully is about to fall over its own hump, is just it's an open forum for uninformed opinion.
That's right. And again, I think it's going to be fun. I haven't read anything. The documentary just played over the weekend, so just hearing about it, my first thought went to, oh my God, we're working a musical about it. Well, that's been written about. The musical's getting prepared. But I don't know. It's going to be, listen, there's a new documentary out about Weinstein already. So will people go see that? Who knows? But it's a scary moment right now, and maybe some of this will pass. And doing things to young children, of course, is even darker in a way. That's as dark as it gets. So I don't know. Let's stay tuned and see if Michael Jackson makes it to Broadway.
Stage Right or Not with Michele Willens, produced in the studios of Robin Hood Radio, robinhoodradio.com.